Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Today's broadcast probably be a little bit terrifying. I'm going to share some information with you about the coronavirus and some of the fallout, some of the collateral damage. I don't know if any other broadcast has given more coverage to the coronavirus in Wuhan, China, than this particular one, USA Prepares. And it's probably because we can see what's coming. There's no doubt in my mind that this is huge, or maybe as President Trump would say, huge, and that it can impact so many people. And the thing that's stunning to me is that so many Americans are just shrugging their shoulders and, well, I don't know. What can you do? What's the use? Why bother? Why think about it? I'm talking about all walks of life. I'm talking about people I talk to that I've never met before. I'm talking about what I see in the stores and the supermarkets. People who jump on aluminum tubes with wings. And then the people who I don't know and haven't met who are trapped on these cruise ships. And they can't get off. We're going to talk about some of this today with Guineith Isaacs. She's live in Australia. Jason is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli. If you'd like to call us and if you are on topic, you don't have to hesitate. We welcome your calls. 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line while we are live, 712-770-9418. I'm sure you note the serious tone of my voice today. It's very serious, and some of you may be terrified with what you hear. We are not fearmongers. We are not trying to broadcast sensationalism. We're just telling you the truth, the things that your neighbors haven't thought about. It's your neighbors who may get you sick because of their carelessness and their recklessness. Welcome, Guineith Isaacs.
Hello, Vincent. How are you this morning?
I can hear you, the tone of your voice.
A lot of other people. After all that, probably a lot better than a lot of other people who don't know what's coming down the track.
Right. Guineith, as someone who has studied science and the body and pathogens, would you say that this is as serious as can be, or are we embellishing how serious this coronavirus is?
Okay, on a worst-case scenario level, where what you would see in something like Stephen King's The Stand would be a number 10, where a common regular outbreak of a common cold would be a 1, I would say this would be a 7 or an 8. Probably an 8. So it's pretty bad. And it's not quite up there with the stand, but that's only because it doesn't seem to be as fatal. You know, that's it. But in a lot of ways, it's a lot worse because what you see, I'm just assuming out here that everybody has watched The Stand, okay? If there's somebody who has not watched The Stand, you can email me at guineith@gmail.com, and I will email you back a link to where there is a copy of The Stand online, and you can watch it online, okay? Which I found, which was very handy. And, but, you know, it's, I can't get that link out on air, okay, for obvious reasons. But, yeah, I happened to stumble across it in the course of my research. And, yes, so if anybody out there is wanting to know what we're talking about, then, you know, do get in touch with me. Yeah, by whatever means, you can get it on DVD. You can probably download it on Netflix or whatever. But The Stand is a documentary. I really believe that, about the absolute worst case scenario, which this still could, pardon the pun, mutate into. If this thing mutates, okay, then you probably would be facing something like The Stand the next time around. And due to the high mutation rates of the coronavirus, that's not entirely out of the question, Vincent. Does that make sense?
Yes, and class, it's called The, T-H-E, next word, Stand, S-T-A-N-D. And The Stand is a post-apocalyptic horror fantasy novel written by Stephen King. He's an American author. And it is a detailed vision of the total breakdown of society after an accidental release of a strain of influenza. It's been modified for biological warfare, and it caused a pandemic, killing over 99% of the world's population. It was published in 1978. In 1994, The Stand was made into a miniseries, and it shows you what happens. The plague is released, and it shows what happens after that. The human interaction, the trust, the distrust. Evil and good are brought into it, but if you peel off some of the devil, if you will, from The Stand TV series, that is, I believe, what we are facing. And it used to be called influenza, to make it seem, more like just a cough and a cold, and just, it's called the flu. That's what we call it today. But in 1918, there was the Spanish influenza. 500 million were affected. 500 million people. More than the population of the United States. Multiple times the population of the United States in 1918. There are 330 million, roughly, in the United States today. That's our population. Well, the Spanish influenza of 1918 lasted a couple of years, and it killed 50 million people. The equivalent of, maybe 11 times the population of New York City. It killed them worldwide. It was horrible. And what we're looking at is a repeat of that at some level. It could be more or it can be less. Right now, there are over 400 million people in China under quarantine. 400 million. And it has been reported by the news that this could infect 60% of the world's population. 60%. And we don't know the exact death rate percentage, but let's say it's as intended, around 40 to 50%. Think about that. The smell alone will choke a horse of the rotting and dead. The Chinese right now are beating pets, dogs, to death with sticks and poles and pipes to kill them. If they see one walking around a neighborhood, they're killing dogs right now. Not for the traditional food purpose that they use dogs for, but to keep them from spreading the coronavirus. Right now, there are cruise ships afloat, and they're not allowed to come to port because of the influenza. And imagine this. Imagine a person so stupid to get on a cruise ship, to go nowhere, to just sail around and waste the world's resources and dump the trash and poop and pee into the ocean and use all that fuel and pay for it and live in a little tiny room the size of a bathroom and be trapped on that ship because someone or a few someones have the virus. Can you imagine being trapped on the ocean, on a ship, where people are infected with a deadly influenza, and you can't get off, and you think, gosh, I'm going to get it too, because I'm trapped here. I can't get away from it. That's how stupid people are. In the past, people have said, oh, Finn, you and your wife, you know, you need to go on a cruise. That's what, it's so relaxing. Do you think those people who are trapped on that little tiny island called a ship, a cruise ship, do you think that they're relaxing? Guineith, have I embellished, or am I saying it the way it really is?
Actually, it's probably worse than what you're saying with the cruise ship, because they've done everything wrong there. Okay? With a ship, they had a traditional set of rules that went back hundreds and hundreds of years of how you treat a plague ship, okay, which is the situation that we're on here. And this is how you treat a plague ship traditionally, okay? You moor that plague ship out in the middle of the bay somewhere. You absolutely do not bring it into dock. If there is somebody sick on the ship, they stay on the ship, they die on the ship, and then you throw their body overboard for the fish to eat. Okay? That is what you do with a plague ship. That is not what they're doing with these cruise liners. Okay? There's no limit on the quarantine.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Guineith Isaacs is with us, and if you wanted to find The Stand, and you can email her at Guineith, Guineith, at gmail.com, and she'll send you a link to get to The Stand. We have a copy here at the farm. Our son happened to be at a store that couldn't wait to get rid of it, and there are a whole bunch of Stephen King books that have been made into videos, series, and I think like 4 or 5 or 6 of them on a DVD set that was $4, $3.99 plus tax. And Mrs. Finelli and I have been rewatching The Stand. And if you link what is happening now with the coronavirus in China, actually all across the world, with what they show on the stand, you'll get a feel for what this is all about, and it should wake you up. One of the things
it's
that
not
was
much different, actually.
right. One of the things that I find disconcerting, at the least, is I challenged our broadcast classroom to run a fire drill. Well, I've been doing this for 8 years now, and I did it recently. Probably a month ago on the radio, and I said Friday night. That's the drill. You're going to get to see what the grid down is like. So you just go to your electrical panel and you shut off all the breakers except for the ones that may support life, medical support, those kinds of things. You put tape across your refrigerator handles if you have one. You put tape across the toilet flush handle if you have one. You put tape across the kitchen sink faucets if you have one, to remind you that there's no water. There's no water to refill the toilet if you flush it. There's no refrigeration because the grid's down. And I don't want you to shut off the refrigeration circuit breaker because food may tend to spoil more quickly. But the idea is you don't go in the refrigerator because it's not working. You simulate that. And you simulate a grid down situation. And you start it at 6 o'clock at night on a Friday night, and it's over at 9 o'clock. No cell phones. You don't get to look at your cell phone because the grid's down in this simulation. And I said, give us a call and tell us what it was like. Tell us what you learned. Sit around the kitchen table with your family, and you know what's going to happen because you're going to do it at 6 o'clock, after you come home from work on Friday. And it's only going to last 3 hours. Just 3 hours. You know when it's over. And actually, if you can't stand it, you'll turn the electricity back on at your circuit panel, your breaker panel, your fuse panel. And I challenged the class, and I said, I don't think anybody's going to call and tell us how it went. Nobody called to tell us how it went. It's too hard. And it's really frustrating and disconcerting to me. So how can we help people who don't want to help themselves? And I've met people who are diabetic. And I was talking with a few of our instructors off the air yesterday. And I said, here are people who are fat. They're diabetic. They're testing their blood every day for glucose. They are injecting themselves with insulin. And it's type 2 diabetes. But they like bread and sweets and candy so much, they continue to do that. And they know that people get their toes snipped off, their ankles snipped off, their legs snipped off, from the results of diabetes. But they know it. And they won't stop eating the foods that are killing them. So how can you expect someone who can't even stop eating themselves to death to survive something like what we're facing? You can't. And are you going to help them? Are you going to use your resources to help them? Are you going to use your time to help them when in the good days they won't even pay attention? They won't stop smoking? I'm talking about smokers. No, only other people die from cancer, lung cancer. Nah, smoking, I'm going to quit soon, right? Guineith, do you see this too, where people it's in their face, it's right in front of them, and yet they don't pay attention, and they won't do any proactive measures to make their lives better and longer? Have you seen that in Australia as well?
I think it's everywhere. I'd like to discuss this some more after the break because I ran into this problem when we were at the supermarket the last time, a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, we'll be right back. Guineith Isaacs is with us, and we're talking about the coronavirus. And Arkansas Senator Cotton wants to know if the conspiracy theories are correct and that this is a man-made bioweapon. That's a senator from Arkansas. Here's the headline. Senator Cotton demands Beijing prove coronavirus isn't a bioweapon. as another conspiracy theory goes mainstream. So who are the ones ringing the bell? Well, that would be the independent media, those of us on Genesis Communications Network and Republic Broadcasting and Rents. Guineith, you were talking about what your experience has been in a supermarket in on your island.
Okay. Okay. What happened was I was here in Australia, we still have Woolworths supermarkets. I don't know if they still have them in America. But anyway, I was at the Woolworths supermarket in Bendigo, one of them. There's a number of them. But I had my shopping trolley loaded up with staples. So when I talk about staples, I talk about there's what we call a porridge around here, which is you would call oatmeal. Okay, that's a staple. Potatoes are a staple. Carrots are a staple. And pasta is a staple. And stock powder is a staple. We discussed this last week, so if anyone wants to go into detail about this sort of thing, then go and listen to last week's broadcast on the Ron Gibson archive or on the GCN archive. Anyway, my shopping trolley was loaded up with these sorts of staple foods, and I spent about $200 on these sorts of staple foods. Oh, yes, and milk powder. And we have a breakfast cereal here called Wheat Bix, which is it's a biscuit which is made of 99% wheat, okay? And it's got about 1% salt in it. That's to help preserve it. But that is a really, really healthy breakfast. And, maybe not so good if you're not inclined to eat wheat. But it's nourishing, it's simple, it's quick to prepare, and you basically, you put the number of Wheat Bix that you normally eat in a bowl, and you pour milk over them. And you can add, jam or jelly or slices of fruit or something like that on the top, or you can just eat it as is. So, anyway, I had boxes and boxes of Wheat Bix as well. And these are the sorts of food, because Wheat Bix will keep almost forever, okay? It's a dry breakfast cereal. You can eat it quickly in the morning and then get out to your daily tasks. And most of the breakfast cereals out there are absolutely full of crud, artificial sweeteners, colours, flavours, sugar, etc. And it will probably make you sick if you eat those sorts of breakfast cereals long term. But Wheat Bix is a good one. And porridge oatmeal is a good one. It takes a bit longer to prepare, but you won't starve as long as you have Wheat Bix and porridge in the house, and as long as you have a vegetable garden and pasta, stock powder, and, that sort of thing. And I've been flat out the last little while planting our garden in potatoes, okay? And we are heading into autumn here, so which is fall in the United States, just like you're heading into your spring. But I'm thinking, well, even if the potatoes that I've planted don't give a full crop, they'll produce enough potato for them to take off in, later on in the year, and we will get a crop, towards the autumn. And then, when the tops die off, and then the other ones, even if they're not quite ready to harvest, they'll die down, and then when the frost goes away, they'll reshoot, because that's what potatoes do. I don't know if anyone knew that, but the roots under the ground that swell, that's actually their seeds. That's what they grow from year after year. And if you are not particularly thorough with digging through your potato patch, and if you leave a few of the potatoes in there, especially the small ones, they'll grow the next year. They're the easiest crop in the world to grow. Does that make sense, Vincent? Anyway, the lady in the supermarket, I asked her, are there lots of people coming through stocking up on these sorts of staples? Because I'm doing this because of the coronavirus, and I live out in the countryside and may not be able to get into town for a month. And she said, no, you're the first one. And Bendigo is a town of about 120,000 people. So this is a full-on supermarket. This is it's not quite Walmart size because we don't really have Walmart-sized supermarkets here. But it'd be the size of a decent-sized Sam's Club. Does that make sense, Vincent? And she said, you're the first one who's come through with a load of staple food saying, I'm stocking up on staples because of the coronavirus. I said, well, what about people just stocking up on staples? And she said, no, nobody's come through with this trolley and trolley and trolley load of staples. Isn't that amazing, Vincent? No one. And she would see hundreds of people a day.
I have asked.
No.
I have asked other instructors off the air. I talk to them all the time, and I've asked them if they've seen any evidence, any signs of people stocking up on anything, whether it be beans in a can, baked beans that are ready to eat with just a can opener. You can eat them cold. Whether it be toilet paper, anything. Nobody's buying more than one of anything. And, if they're buying a can, literally, they're looking at, do I want this can or that can? It's not, well, let me get both. They're shopping for price. They're broke. And yet, it's staring them right in the face that this is heading our way. It's already here. It's in many states in the United States. It's in Australia. It's all over the world right now. Canada, Europe, Asia. And it's believed that right now that the life expectancy of the virus on some materials may be as long as 42 days. I think I said that wrong. That you can be asymptomatic for 42 days. Asymptomatic. So you can carry it around with you, no sign of being infected, and spread it to others for 42 days.
That's the truly terrifying thing, is the
Absolutely.
long incubation period. That means
Right.
you've got no chance of containing it ever.
Correct. And, here's what it says. Let me get to the top of this article. Wouldn't you know it, my computer's acting up, because because we're over the target. Okay. I think I can get it to move a little bit. I'll read this. Okay. As soon as the screen refreshes, I can tell you what it says, if it refreshes. And I'm using Linux. I don't normally have problems with Linux. Okay. Scientists discover coronavirus has an incubation period of up to 24 days and can survive for 9 days on a smooth surface. Repeat. Scientists discover coronavirus has an incubation period of up to 24 days and can survive for 9 days on a smooth surface. That's a really long time. On a smooth surface. People are terrified that this is spreading and it cannot be stopped. That's where we are. I don't know how to stop it. It's already out. The flights have already landed. There are people who were infected who hopped on airplanes. They've already done it. They've already spread it throughout the entire world. If you looked at a map, I've seen a map that shows, a flat map of the world, and it shows red lines of flights that have happened before the lockdown in China. So about 60,000 people took off. And they went everywhere. Everywhere. Every place you can imagine. And you can see these lines all over the map that show where they've been. And so if you're listening to this broadcast, it's probably near you. Absolutely terrifying. And yet, I don't know anyone who has panicked, or shown the signs of, we better get our, whatever it is that we need to top off, And it says here that there are concerns about the global spread of coronavirus with a new map showing the predicted movements of the 60,000 Wuhan residents who fled the Chinese city before it went into lockdown. I saw the map. It's everywhere. All over the world. And yet, there are people who are on the ships, the 4 ships that are quarantined, and they can't get off. And they're terrified. Can you imagine being in good health, getting on a ship, finding out that you are quarantined on a ship, and you can't get off, and you're eating the food that's prepared by people who have been exposed, and the person next to you is exposed? Actually, all of you have been exposed?
You know what? There is actually one way to get off one of these ships that has the coronavirus, and that's to come down with symptoms. Then they'll get you off the ship real fast, and that's absolutely what you should not do.
And then the next...
If you have a flagship, you should keep the ship moored out in the middle of the harbor, okay? And preferably out in the middle offshore, like 2 nautical miles out or whatever. You should not even really allow it into the harbor because, then you've got a confined water supply in the harbor. So, but anyway, you should keep it offshore. You should keep the ship offshore, and you should let the disease run its way through the ship. And as the people die, you should throw their bodies overboard. Okay? And that's what you should do. That's what people have been doing with flagships for hundreds of years.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. We're talking about the plague class, and if you happen to call in, Jason will get to your call. Just let it continue ringing. Stay on the line. I see that the call screen is lit up, so we will get to you, and I'll put you on the air. Guineith Isaacs is with us. Guineith, so you and I and none of our instructors, not one of us has seen a concern of people buying supplies for their own survival. We haven't seen it. I have a list. Rich Sheeman and Steve Elkins have sent me articles, and of course, I read them and pay attention to them and do my own research as well, and you do yours. But I have a list of things that, if you would like, I will read some of these, and it will terrify you as to what could happen as a result of the factories continuing to shut down in China. Already, the Chinese exports are down 23% in 2 weeks. We've already reported that. The items that are on this list will make you wet your pants, class. I'm not kidding. And it's brought to you by the ilk of, let's say, previous administrations who've said things like, we don't need incandescent light bulbs. So if you want to raise little chicks for eggs to have chickens, and you need a heat source to keep those little chicks alive, we used to use incandescent light bulbs. Well, we don't make them in the United States anymore. We make specialty bulbs, but very few of them. And so all of those common, inexpensive, 5 for $1, 4 for $1 incandescent light bulbs that you used to see at the dollar store, well, they're gone. And that's been brought to you by previous administrations. Because we need Chinese bulbs. And so when you look at those LED bulbs that you have in your cars, and you look at those LED bulbs that you just couldn't wait to install in your house because they use less electricity, they come from China. And if you think that they are going to last as long as they claim, I'm here to tell you that's not true. The failure rate is quite high. Your expectations are great. You're thinking they're going to last 7+ years. It's absolutely not true in many cases, at least here on the farm. We've had these Chinese manufactured LED can replacement or retrofits. So if you have those recessed lights in your ceiling and you put in these nice looking LED replacements that use maybe 1/5 the electricity of the incandescent bulb, in our case, we have found that they've fallen down. Now, they were installed properly. They use these little tiny screws in this substandard plastic, and the screws aren't long enough to hold the assembly together. It breaks on its own and falls down. And if you have a tall ceiling, you can get a lump on your head from one of these retrofit lights falling down. They've fallen down in our house. You need to glue them together before you put them up. Yes. Yes.
I'm back.
Great. What I'm saying is that things come from China. Most everything comes from China. And I have a list if you'd like me to share that, or what would you like to continue with, Guineith, about this very serious topic?
Okay, I would like to keep talking about the cruise ship and explain myself, because there's probably some people out there who are kind of horrified at my heartlessness. Okay? Because what I'm saying is the exact opposite of what everybody else is saying. Okay? I need to tell all of the class that the coronavirus doesn't care about your feelings. Okay? And you have had people who have been infected with the coronavirus allowed on shore at Yokohama. And the photos of them on gurneys being taken off the ship and put into ambulances and taken somewhere in Yokohama has been all over the internet. That is exactly what you should not do. Okay? Because if you do that, you are turning that cruise ship into a virus farm. And if you leave that cruise ship moored offshore, okay, and let the virus burn itself out, you'll save the port and you'll save the country. You'll save that cruise ship from becoming an infection point into the country. And this has been understood for hundreds and hundreds of years. This has been maritime law for hundreds and hundreds of years, but somehow now that's being thrown out the window because of people, as far as I can tell, because of people's feelings. Because people are now so gutless, they say, oh, but that's not humane to just, keep everybody on the ship.
Well,
I'll tell you what.
We'll talk more about that.
The coronavirus doesn't care about people's humanity.
We'll be right back with Guineith Isaacs, and David is on hold in Illinois. David, we'll put you on the air when we come back after the top of the hour news and commercial announcements. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. David in Illinois is calling in, and if you just heard the advertisement for Compliacin, it's now available in the 3-month size. So you can save on shipping, and you can request that your school psychologist point you in the right direction and get you a prescription for Compliacin.
Can I make a comment about that real quick?
David, commenting on commercials is the kiss of death, and I've been nibbling at the around the edges, but I believe that one of our engineers, and I have not gotten the truth on this, but I believe Nathan, one of our engineers, is responsible for putting that commercial, which is absolutely bogus, on USA Prepares. I think that is his humor poking through for those who are not paying attention. But go ahead.
Now, but also, he don't realize, or some people don't realize, how much these statements that's in that about school and your children is very, very true. And one of these days, when I get enough courage, I will tell you about my experiences with the school system, and which I never talked about yet, our daughter. So one of these days, I have to tell you about it.
When you are ready, if you are ready, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, we do have a daughter, and my father helped kind of cause that situation, and that was the extremes he was willing to cover for me and hide me. Was my daughter had to pay for it. So, anyways, that's all. One of these days I will. It's hard to deal with. Anyway, now, can I ask I originally called because I wanted to ask about the cruise ship virus situation, as well as I went out yesterday to do our weekly supplies. We don't need it every week. We just do it because we budget our money, and then whatever's left, we fill up with ammo, food, and store it in the house. But when I went out yesterday, I asked several people about it if they'd heard about it. One person heard about it. One person. And they see me with our mask that I clip onto my bag, and when I get in the place, I'll put them on. And they're like, why do you have it? Where'd you get that at? Where'd you get that? And I guess I don't want to get sick from people, you know. And I actually got chewed out because the store finally put pasta, gluten-free pasta, and I bought it all. And somebody in the store got mad at me. So, well, if somebody wanted it, they should have got here before I did. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we seen one lady washing the carts, and she gave us a cart, and she seen us with our UV wand, the little portable one, and she was the only one person asked where we got it from. Nobody cares. It was. I was just surprised. I was shocked. You know.
Plus, if you want to get a ultraviolet light, you can get it on eBay right now, and it'll be less than $5 shipped. So see if you can find one that is UVC, ABC, okay, UVC, and that's the one that will break the DNA of bacteria and viruses. So now, that's the one you want.
Yeah, I went back online and I didn't mean to get here, but I went back online and looked at the local news channels, which you would know who they are, where they showed the studies for the UVC lights to see if it actually worked. And another one of our local channels did a video, too, and it killed everything. And they said if it'll kill staph and situations like that, they believe it would kill these flu viruses and influenza viruses, too. But it killed everything all around the studio. So they do work.
Okay. Yes, they do. And here's a concern, class. So in China, and this was reported probably a couple months ago, that they have these ultraviolet lights in the ceiling of classrooms. And what they do is when the students are not in class, like overnight, they will turn on these lights to kill bacteria and viruses in the classroom. Now, obviously, they knew something was going on because that's what they were doing months ago. And we didn't put it together. We didn't connect the dots because the coronavirus wasn't reported that it was out yet. So the Chinese were trying to kill the bacteria in the school system. Now, if you think about that, every family almost is connected to a student who's connected to a class who's connected to every other family through the classroom in the school, right? Now you have thousands of families that are now connected through the school system. The buses, the gymnasium, the cafeteria, and the classrooms themselves. So it's really serious. So what they were doing, and I can't prove that they knew this and that's why they had the ultraviolet lights in the classroom, but they did. And they turned them on at night to disinfect the classrooms, all those surfaces that the light could reach. But what they did by accident, and the reason we know about this is because they left the light on at night and the children were looking at it in the morning when they came to class and they were blinded. So being blind from these lights, these ultraviolet lights, is how come it made the news. Not because they were so concerned about the bacteria and the viruses that they had to kill them in the classrooms. So we found out about it in a roundabout way. So I suggest that you consider getting ultraviolet lights. And guess where they come from? China. China.
So you better get one quick.
So I bought some. That's right. Get it quickly. And what you can do is, I already bought ours months and months and months ago, because actually probably years ago, because I wanted to disinfect the home heating system, the air handling system. So I have ultraviolet lights in them. And mine are the PL Philips lighting, PL type. They are 9 watts, and they use a ballast. They use the old-fashioned fluorescent ballast for a PL type bulb. They last, well, they say they last about a year. I think they last longer, but they have reduced, I won't call it efficiency. I would say they have reduced impact in killing, dismantling the DNA the longer they are used. So I have a feeling they'll last several years, but they say they only last one, which is 8,000 hours if you multiply it out. Yes.
Now we've had one of those like yours in our furnace installed years ago. I'll just give, if somebody goes in to do that, the civil recommendation is buy extra bulbs when you buy it.
That's exactly right.
Went out,
that's it.
And we're having a problem trying to find a replacement bulb. So.
Yes, and it is very difficult. And the reason is it's a special glass. It's a quartz glass that they use that does not impede the transmission of ultraviolet. So here is what I found out. I called the manufacturer of the manufacturer of the assembly, the completed product. I called them up and I talked to them. And here's the problem that they're having. They can get this was months ago. They can get the bulbs. But the problem is the manufacturer of the ballast that drives these bulbs. It's a magnetic ballast. It's kind of like a transformer.
It's made in China.
They went out of business. They were in the United States, and they went out of business. And the reason that they went out of business is because of China. What happened is that we used to make the ballast in the United States, and because of the Chinese LEDs taking over the place of the fluorescent lighting, because of that, there was no need to have an American manufacturer that manufactured ballasts for lights that people don't use anymore. So many people have switched from fluorescent lighting to LED lighting. And I can't believe it. I mean, I went to Craigslist and I looked up 8-foot fluorescent lights. The people couldn't wait to get rid of them. I bought 5 fluorescent 8-foot lights that came out of a supermarket. Supermarket couldn't wait to put LED lighting in. They pulled out all of their fluorescent lighting. They sold the fixtures. I bought 5 of them for our farm here for $125 with the bulbs and an armload. I don't know how many, maybe 100 bulbs, all for $125. The bulbs and the fixtures, and I think maybe 10 spare ballasts. The ballasts are worth $50 a piece. And they couldn't wait to get rid of them. Nobody wants them. It's just like nobody's paying attention to the supermarket and that cart and buying gluten-free or regular pasta, David. That's what it's like. So, David, tell us what you're saying, please. Is there anything different from what I've been saying? Does it contradict what I've been saying?
Yeah, it's surprising when the things that we go purchase, they're just running out and they're not even bothering. I asked them several times, when are you going to get some of this in? We don't know. Next thing you know, you come back and there's something else in that spot. And I says, well, we can't get any of that, so we're just filling it with whatever we do have. And it's just surprising that people, and you're right, I seen one guy there, and all he was doing is trying to debate on what one can of vegetables to buy. You just want one can. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's it.
So he's having a debate in his mind whether it's this one or that one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because I had a problem where they put Spanish on some of the boxes I wanted to get, and they switched them out. And I asked him to help me. Hey, could you help me read this? And he read it for me. He's like, well, that one's all in Espanol. And he said, but there's one you want right there. And then he went back and he asked me, can you help me decide which one of these cans to purchase? I'm like, and that's when I found out it was just one can. You know.
Those are my observations. Guineith, are you seeing exactly the same thing or different?
Yeah, I don't have that problem with deciding what vegetables to get because I'm in a routine, okay? I get the same vegetables every time. And it's by long experiences, and I have a small mental library of recipes that I know and that I can do really well, and I just do the same recipes over and over again, and I've been doing that for years. And, and they're cheap, and they're, it's really tasty, but, that's what I do. So I buy potatoes, I buy sweet potatoes, and I buy carrots, and I buy oranges, and I buy onions, and if they're cheap enough, I buy apples and bananas. And, so when I go to the greengrocers, I have this list of 7 vegetables that I buy every time, and, I know about how much they're going to cost. And if one of them's too much, then it gets dropped off the list. Oh, and pumpkin.
All right, hold that thought. David, would you like to stay with us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, when we come back, I'd like to read this list of impact. Guineith is with us. David is with us. Would it be okay with you if I were to read just a hint of the products that will impact our lives that come from China? Is that okay with you, Guineith?
Yeah, that's fine. I think that would be useful, actually.
I just did a word count of this just the words of the products. 770 words. Now, these are, this can make you wet your pants, class. So here it is. This is not designed to be frightening. But I'm going to just read some of them. I may get to the rest of them on Friday. It will take the rest of the broadcast to read these. Tires. Tire retreading products. All rubber products, including, but not limited to, stoppers, caps, lids, hoses, belts, tubes, pipes, etc. This will affect everything that rolls or is contained. Antifreeze and de-icing fluids. Every automobile that is water-cooled or liquid-cooled has antifreeze. That would be motorcycles, some ATVs, cars, trucks, military vehicles, generators that are liquid cooled, and de-icing fluids. That'd be windshield washer fluids to start with, to de-ice your windshield, and de-icing airplanes. Iron and iron alloy and steel products. Aluminum and aluminum alloys. Nuclear reactors and parts for nuclear reactors. Central heating units and parts for them, furnace burners, and all other parts for furnaces, ovens, and hot water heaters. Turbines of all kinds, combustion piston engines, ignition systems, compressors, hydraulic engines, pneumatic engines, turbo engines, pumps of all kinds, machinery for food production and commercial and home use, paper making, book making, anything printed, cartons, boxes, containers for mailing and shipping, textile machines, any and everything to do with needlework of any kind in textiles. Metalwork, anything to do with machinery involving drilling, milling, grinding, smoothing, shaping, punching, and polishing. Woodworking machinery of all kinds. Cast iron parts and products. Chainsaws and parts. Cash registers. Anything to do with computers, electronics, magnetic storage, in whole or in parts. Medical devices. Microwave ovens. Microwave communications equipment. Televisions. Car computers and components. Concrete mixers. Earth moving, crushing, grinding, sorting machinery of all kinds. Glass optical machinery. Assembly machinery of all kinds. Vacuum molding machinery. Thermoforming machinery. Rope and cable manufacturing machinery, both metal and fiber types. Floor polishers, trash compactors, pulleys, ball bearings. Now let me just highlight ball bearings. During World War II, when we wanted to take out industry in Germany, we targeted their ball bearing factories. Because if you just take out the ball bearings, you take out the machinery that uses bearings. You take out the tanks, the vehicles. You take out anything that rolls. Ball bearings from China. Welders, electric motors, generators of applications from large to small, electromagnetics, lab equipment for all applications, broadcast equipment. I mentioned that earlier. There's nothing that China hasn't touched in my studio. Nothing. End-to-end broadcasting. China is involved. You take China out of broadcasting and there is no broadcasting. Period. Railway and shipping equipment of any and all types. Tractors, motor vehicles of all kinds. That's just a partial list. We'll be right back. So let me just give it to you very quickly, class. This is what the impact of the coronavirus will have. If it flies, rolls, or floats, it's on the list of being impacted. If it has an on or off switch, it's on the list. If you swallow it, it's on the list. If you go to the doctor or dentist, it's on the list. That's how big it is. That's it in a nutshell. Guineith?
Okay. Now, I think that what you're saying is absolutely correct, and that is it. Even if the coronavirus is race-specific, even if it does just attack Chinese people, even if white people are more or less immune, which there is a possibility of that, because it seems as if this particular pathogen came from an American or Canadian lab in the first place, and it seems as if the Americans were working on it as a race-specific bioweapon to release on the Chinese. But the Chinese were spying in that lab, and when they were fired for spying, that they went back to China and grabbed a few vials as they walked out the door. And it didn't come from a meat market or a live animal market or whatever. And, you know, it seems as if somebody, either deliberately or on purpose, dropped a vial of this stuff, and that's how this whole thing started. Now, what that means, that is the best-case scenario. That is baked in the cake. That is going to happen, as far as I can see. Okay, I might be wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But as far as I can see, that's more or less how it's going to come down. And what that means, in practical purposes, is that you're going to wipe out all the technological development since the Industrial Revolution. So we're going to be pushed back to the level of technology that we had before the Industrial Revolution, because there's nobody out there in the West who knows how to do this sort of stuff anymore. Well, there's not enough people in the West who know how to do this sort of stuff anymore, okay? And I put in an email to you earlier, Vincent. Oh, I mentioned as well, and I would like to say this on air, that I've actually been able to buy another horse, which is nice. I've actually paid for the horse today, and she is a Whaler Cross Curly Mustang, okay? A Curly Mustang is also called an American Curly, but they were bred from Mustangs through a, something that happened out on a particular ranch probably about 50 years or 100 years or so ago, and produced a super hardy variety of Mustang. And the guy realized what he had and began to breed them on purpose. But I would advise that everybody who can out there or get a horse and or a bicycle, depending on, your personal circumstances, okay? The reason why I got a horse is because I don't feel capable of riding a bike anymore. We live in a very hilly place, and riding a horse is just more comfortable for me. But I also wrote in a email to you, Vincent, and I recommend, if you can take my advice or not, I don't really mind, but I think that it's good advice for you to get a couple of nice young bull calves this spring, castrate them, and train them to be bullocks to help you with your farm work. And start with 2.
Already
and
done.
Anyone else out there who's a cattle farmer? Yeah.
It's already done. It's already done. Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful. That's lovely. I'm so happy about that, because that's how every cattle farmer out there is going to have to do that. Because otherwise, unless they can do that and then modify their existing machinery or get some old machinery and fix it to bring in their hay, every cattle farmer out there is going to be in really big trouble, because they're not going to be able to bring in enough hay. Either that, or they're going to have to go back to how things were before the Industrial Revolution, and that was keeping like 20 cows. That was what people used to do. And, just that's not really going to be really good. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Uh-huh. It absolutely does. And class, I've been suggesting that you do a couple of things, and if you believe anything that we're saying, David and Guineith and I are saying, and Rich Sheben and Norm, Rick, all of us, get some fertilizer for your garden today. And I suggest you consider getting some 22s as well. And I just can't tell you why, but I have a feeling that you'll really appreciate having them later, because in the House of Delegates in Virginia, they just passed the bill banning the sale of assault weapons today. Now it goes on to the Senate.
Oh my God.
But so far it's made it through the House. So this could go down like dominoes. So the most firepower density that you can get is 22 long rifle. In terms of carrying a small package with 50 in it, it'll fit in your pocket. But you have to have the tool to make it work, like the pistol, the revolver, or the rifle. And I suggest you get moving on this. And I really can't tell you why. I will be thrown off the air, probably arrested, for saying, the possibilities that these tools can be used for. But they can certainly be used for, you can use your imagination. I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying that, if you need to hunt a squirrel or a rabbit, because all the deer are gone, you might want to have a 22.
Feral animal that comes onto your land.
Absolutely, and we had to do that in the middle of the night just a couple of nights ago. There was a possum who was tearing into our chicken coop, and he was chasing the chickens around. So in the middle of the night, it was either let him eat our chickens or we were going to take him out. And you know the rest of the story. So you have to be at the ready. And a .22 is a really good tool for that. It really is. I mean, a shotgun is a little overkill, but, depending on your skill level, and I suggest that you get those .22s and start practicing and drilling holes in targets, at 50 yards, 100 yards. Get used to it and get them while you can, because it looks to me like it's going to be tougher and tougher. And right now, .22 long rifles can be had 38 grains, 36 grains, hollow points, high velocity, 50 in a box for $2. You can get them right now. Okay, don't spend a lot of money. Get the inexpensive ones, and if they still have them at the Chinese factory outlet, $500 in a box or $550, for $20-something, maybe $24, $23, I suggest you consider them. Federal work great. Remington, not so good. Okay, David, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's now. For ammo like that, if somebody doesn't have enough money and they happen to have access to a shotgun, like a single action, breakdown shotgun, you can go online and for very inexpensive buy some shotgun shell adapters, and that one weapon can be used for any ammo you come around. I mean, there's a lot of so it really makes it more versatile. If you just have a box of 22s, you could just pop that one in. Save you a lot of money.
Yeah, I've never done that. So you're saying that this adapter will fit in the shotgun, and it will adapt from, let's say, 12 gauge down to 22 or 38 or a 9mm. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yes, 45s, okay. 357s, and you can look them up on YouTube. They're very accurate.
Okay, I've never seen it. I've never seen one. Okay, very good, very good. Yeah. Gwyneth, any of your comments? About fertilizer or 22s, Gwyneth, and then back to David.
Okay, yeah, that's the other reason I need a horse. Is fertilizer production. And I actually really thought and prayed about what variety of horse to get. And I managed to get a Whaler, that's Whaler cross, like I said, Curly Mustang. And the reason why I got that variety of horse was because they can live on pretty pathetic country. The Whalers were Australia's warhorse for hundreds of years, and they could eat. When they were taken over to the Middle East for various Middle Eastern campaigns that the Aussies were involved in, they actually did better than the camels that the Arabs had on the same country. That is what a fantastic horse they are for getting by on poor feed. Okay? And Mustangs have a similar reputation, and by crossing a Mustang with a Whaler, I reckon that there's going to be quite a bit of hybrid vigor in there as well. But yeah, they turn pathetic, low-quality, semi-arid grass into beautiful manure and a form of locomotion. That's what they do. So, if there's anyone in the U.S. who's looking to get a horse, and they should go and see a rancher who has Mustangs for sale and explain that they need one that would be suitable for a beginner. Okay? And I'm sure that the rancher will be able to help you. And it'll probably cost you a few $1,000s. But, you will have transport for the foreseeable future. Okay? And, I have the experience where I can break them in myself. And this horse is unbroken, so I could get it. I paid $400 for it, which is not a lot. But, you're going to be paying, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 for a fully broken beginner's grade Mustang. But I would recommend getting one if you have that money to spare. With regards to firearms, I can't have a firearm here legally, okay? Because I would have to have the blue team looking through my house, and I'm not happy for them to do that. But I have other projectile firing devices, namely archery-connected ones, and you can make your own ammo, and you can make your own bows. And I would advise people, if they are living in an area where firearms are banned, that they should learn how to make a bow.
There you go. We'll be right back. David and Guineith. A couple quick thoughts, class. On Friday, George is going to be joining me for hour number 1, and on hour number 2, I'm going to be talking about tips from the book. But I want to give you a highlight. These products are made in China, but there's still some stock in the United States. And if you are going to get a rifle, you might want to consider a typical farming hunting rifle, which would be a 30-30 lever action, made by several companies, including Marlin and Winchester. You can get one for about $400 at a gun show used directly from the seller. And they're a great rifle. And if you're going to have a rifle, get a rifle, that's one to consider. It will take down a deer at 200 yards. Also, you might want to get what's called a bore sighter, B-O-R-E. S-I-G-H-T-E-R. And what this is it's a brass case that looks like a cartridge but without the bullet. And it has a red laser in it. And it uses 3 very tiny hearing aid type batteries or cells. And it will project a red dot down the barrel at the target. And so if you don't want to waste ammunition, you can get a bore sighter shipped from the United States in lots of calibers like 9mm, 380, 762 by 39, 12 gauge, 223, 556, 243, 308, 7mm, 45 ACP, 30-30, 30-06, 38. I mean, pretty much every caliber you can think of, including .22 long rifle. And I suggest you consider getting one for the rifle or pistol of your choice so that you can sight it in without wasting ammunition, because ammunition is going to be quite dear, as they used to say, or quite precious. And how much do they cost? Well, as low as $6.99 each. So I suggest you consider doing some research about that, and I suggest you consider getting one if you like what you've learned. David, any comments about that?
Yeah, they were great. I would suggest to make sure if you get one, make sure you take the batteries out, because the ones that I have don't shut off, and extra batteries are kind of pricey.
Yeah, so what you do is you screw on the back cap of the bore sighter, and it will power on. There's no on-off switch. So you put the cells in there, 3 cells, hearing aid type battery cells in there, and then you screw on the cap and it comes on. Never look at it. Never look at the laser. You will damage your vision. So be very, very careful. But they work great, as low as $6.99 each, with shipping included. So take a look at that. And you go to eBay and you can type in bore space SIGHTER, and you'll see what we're talking about. David, any other quick comments? Then Guineith.
The Marlin 30-30s, they're great. I preferred that one over the Winchester. They just because of the access, the port for the extraction. The Winchester was at the top, and I didn't want the shells to fall back down. So I like the Marlin better too. I was going to ask something about this the virus thing. Is that okay? Now they're keeping these people quarantined them on these ships. Now, I was listening to a show yesterday, podcast, where there was an American couple there, and while they were on the phone, they knocked on the door and told them his wife was positive, and they told her to pack all her stuff. She's going to be taken away. But here's my thing. Wouldn't the quarantine start over again from the last person that contracts it? Because it could be somewhere else, and they could have contracted it after the 14 days. that they're saying they're quarantined, correct? Or am I wrong there?
Guineith?
That's what I was talking about with how things used to be run with naval protocol. Was they used to, moor the ship offshore and let the disease burn itself out. And that might mean that, just about everybody on the ship died, or everybody on the ship died. Because this has been a problem for hundreds of years. This is the absolute worst thing you could do, is to remove the plague victim from the ship. Because then that ship becomes a plague farm and infests the port. And the port will go on to infest the country. That is why it has been naval protocol. And I'm just disgusted. I'm really disgusted with how they're running things. It's almost like they want this thing to spread. Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering, because I seen them just doing this and taking these actions, and I'm like, this don't make sense. No,
it doesn't.
It's been a long time since college. I agree, but still, I didn't think it was that different. And I agree.
No, you're absolutely right.
Sorry.
Guineith said it. It's a virus farm, and unfortunately, for those who were stupid enough to get on the ship in the first place, it's really not our fault that they have no common sense. It's not our fault. And the same thing with airplanes. And airplanes are spreading this so quickly. The Spanish influenza took, you needed ships to bring it to different continents. Now all you need is an airplane ticket. And within hours, you can spread it from country to country to country. Not even hours, maybe even a half an hour. And that's what we've done. And people are infected for weeks and they don't even know it. Guineith, thank you so much. David, thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless, and I'll see you next week.